Good morning, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Sunday, November 9th, 2014, around 5:42 in the morning. It's dark out. The sun's going to come up about an hour. It's going to be about 55 degrees today, sunny skies, a typical fall day and stuff like that. Some news to report. The Boston Celtics beat the Chicago Bulls by a score of 106-101. And also the Louisville Cardinals football team beat the Boston College Eagles football team by the score of 38-19 at the Heights last night. And also the UMass Lowell Riverhawks beat the Northeastern Huskies by the score of 4-0 in Hockey East action. Another win by the UMass Lowell Riverhawks. They're doing pretty good this year. And next weekend they're going to be facing off against Penn State, 2 games at the Songas Arena. Both games are probably going to be sold out. And that's about it on that. My next subject is about an infamous wrestling thing that happened 17 years ago today. It was the infamous Montreal screw job in Montreal, Quebec, Canada at the Bell Center, and it was the main event of the WWE pay-per-view, the Survivor Series. Champion Bret the Hitman Hart against challenger Shawn Michaels for the World Wrestling Entertainment Heavyweight Championship. This was the match where Shawn Michaels beat Bret Hart with the sharpshooter, and Bret didn't submit, but they screwed him out of the title because Bret just signed with WCW, and this was very infamous because it was not really planned for Bret to lose the title due to this screw job. The story of this screw job happened several weeks earlier when Bret Hart was told by WWE owner Vince McMahon that he was going to intentionally breach his 20-year contract with the company that Bret signed in 1996 around October. Bret contract with WWE was up at October 1996, and he had 2 offers, one from WCW with a 3-year contract worth $9 million, $3 million each year with a reduced schedule. He was just going to probably be working TV shows like Monday Nitro and maybe some big house shows and pay-per-views. Well, the WWE offered him a 20-year contract, but it was less money, but all the money was drawn out. First few years he would be like a performer with $500,000 each. Then he would move into a role of the booking committee and a goodwill ambassador, which would be a $250 to $1,000 a year for the next 17 years and stuff. And Bret was torn between WWE and WCW, but he signed a 20-year contract with WWE because he thought WCW didn't know what they would do with Bret the Hitman Hart's character. And Bret the Hitman Hart signed a deal, and he appeared on Monday Night Raw on October 21st, 1996, announcing that he was staying with the WWE. And during this time, he feuded with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was a heel at the time, but was a face. But the fans were continuing to cheer for Stone Cold Steve Austin, even though he was a heel. And Bret lost the Royal Rumble 1997. The match between Stone Cold won it because he got thrown out over the top rope by Bret the Hitman Hart, but the referees did not see it because they were pulling Terry Funk and Mankind off of each other because they were brawling, and Stone Cold eliminates the other people in the Royal Rumble, the Undertaker, Vader, and Bret the Hitman Hart illegally, even though he was eliminated. And Bret started to get mad and stuff. He was telling that to Vince McMahon and stuff. The next night on Raw, he quits and walks out, and Vince McMahon tries to find him, trying to calm him down. And then Vince McMahon's in the ring, and he has WWE figurehead president Gorilla Monsoon, and Gorilla Monsoon says that Stone Cold was not going to get really a crack at the WWE title. He has to earn his way in a fatal 4-way match between him, Bret the Hitman Hart, Vader, and The Undertaker and Bret Hart unquits the WWE and comes back. And then at the Fatal 4-Way pay-per-view, Bret the Hitman Hart wins the WWE title for the 4th time. It was an elimination match. But the next night on Raw, the Bret the Hitman Hart faces off against Psycho Sid for the WWE Championship, and Stone Cold Steve Austin interferes and beats Bret the Hitman Hart for 1, 2, 3. And Sid is a new WWE champion, and like Bret Hart gets mad as well about this. Backstage during this time, Vince McMahon urged Bret the Hitman Hart to turn heel. He was reluctant at first because the fans were cheering Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, even though he was a heel, the fans were making him face, so Bret reluctantly turned heel, and they started for him to complain and stuff on the interviews and stuff. There was a steel cage match on Monday Night Raw between Psycho Sid and Bret the Hitman Hart for the WWE Championship a week before WrestleMania, March 17th, and it was a good cage match. Like, Stone Cold was trying to beat up Stone Cold was trying to beat up Bret Hart, trying to prevent him from winning, and the Undertaker was rescuing, trying to help out as well. Undertaker smacks Bret the Hitman Hart through the door, and Psycho Sid wins. And then the post-match interview, when Vince McMahon comes up, Bret the Hitman Hart pushes him down and then says, "This is bull." And then Bret the Hitman Hart goes wild and stuff. And this is when they had to do a 7-second delay for the USA Network because of profanity. And then WrestleMania 13 happens, the submission match, Bret the Hitman Hart against Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is when the double turn happens. Stone Cold did not submit to the sharp studio which Bret the Hitman Hart put on, and Ken Shamrock was a special guest troubleshooting referee. And the next week on Raw, the next night on Raw, Bret Hart turns heel in a speech where he told the American fans to kiss his you-know-what, and then he puts, Shawn Michaels comes down and says blah blah blah, and then Bret the Hitman puts the figure 4 on Shawn Michaels on the ring post, which is amazing, solidifies his heel turn. And then later on in the night he attacks Rocky Maivia. The next week on Raw, Bret the Hitman Hart reunites with Owen Hart and the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, because Owen and the Bulldog were fighting against each other, and they were teasing a British Bulldog face turn, but Bret the Hitman Hart said something to stop fighting and stuff, and this is what the American fans want. And then the Owen Hart and the British Bulldog and Bret the Hitman Hart formed the New Hart Foundation, which was pretty good, and then they won roughshod over the WWE throughout 1997 as a heel faction. But the Hitman Hart misses some time because he has knee surgery and stuff like that, and then his heel character was getting to be very popular in the United States, but he still wrestled as face. This was one of the most unusual angles they did in WWE history, where the Hart Foundation was heels in the United States, but faces in Canada, which was pretty amazing. But the Hitman Hart was going off as the top heel, and also he eventually added Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Brian Pillman to the Hart Foundation. Was one of the biggest factions in the WWE during this time. And then backstage during July of 1997, Bret Hart was informed by one of the top bookers of the WWE, Pat Patterson, that Bret's going to drop down the totem pole as a heel, who will be the number 2 heel behind Shawn Michaels, because Shawn Michaels is going to be the referee for the match between Bret the Hitman Hart and The Undertaker at SummerSlam 1997 for the WWE title, and this was the stipulation. Bret Hart when he was going to retire from wrestling in the United States again, but he would wrestle in Canada and all over Europe. You could tell knew this thing Bret was going to win this match, because there would be no way he would lose this match and wrestle in the Canada or the across the country, because he knew Bret was going to win. And like Bret's bits at the Shawn Michaels during the referee and match between him and the Undertaker at SummerSlam. Michaels has a chair, and Michaels was going to blast Bret the Hitman Hart, but he hits the Undertaker instead, and he gets reluctant. He 1, 2, 3, and then this is when Shawn Michaels becomes a heel. There was rumors during this time that Shawn Michaels was actually going to become part of the Hart Foundation, but I heard something that they had backstage a marketing between him and Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart still, because there was an incident a few months earlier where Shawn Michaels said something about Bret Hart, that he was having an affair with like WWE diva Sunny, who was Tammy Lynn Sitch, and that got them in a backstage fight, and Shawn Michaels left for a few weeks and stuff like that. And Bret was getting mad that his heel run was going to be overshadowed by like Shawn Michaels, who formed his own faction with Triple H and Chyna and Rick Rude. They called themselves DX, and this was a change of direction of the WWE, making it from more fan-friendly to adult-oriented themes, with all the stuff with DX saying suck it and crush chops and this and that. That's another story for another day. And around this time, in September 1997, during a Monday Night Raw at Madison Square Garden backstage, Vince McMahon told Bret the Hitman Hart that they're going to have to breach his contract because the company was in financial peril, meaning that the WWE was going to make or break it, because they were, Vince McMahon, quote unquote, saying that Ted Turner and WCW was going to be held out of bit, trying to put the WWE out of business. But I think this is real life, that Vince McMahon probably did not want to pay Bret the Hitman's Hart's 20-year contract, and plus, in addition, I had something that he didn't think Bret Hart was too much valuable as a performer anymore, and he maybe had no room for him to become on the booking committee, because back at the time they had Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe and Jim Ross, and I also thought Shawn Michaels and Triple H were having some ideas as well on the booking committee, and he told Bret the Hitman Hart to try to make the best deal possible for WCW again, try to get his old deal that he had in for 3 years, $9 million. And Bret Hart calls up Eric Bischoff, who ran WCW, at first that they were having, negotiation, stuff like that, but we're having a little bit difficulty. But then a few weeks later, Vince McMahon says that he would live up to the contract, saying that the thing was in financial peril, the company wasn't in financial peril and stuff. And then he believed Vince McMahon, but there was more rumors. A few weeks later, Vince told him that they're going to have to breach it again. And then Bret was torn. Then he called up Eric Bischoff again, saying, I want to really come to WCW. And then Eric Bischoff gives him the same deal he had that he was offered a year earlier, 3-year contract, $9 million, 3 years, $3 million a year, with like working just Monday Night Nitros, pay-per-views, and a new show that WCW was debuting on TBS in the coming January Thunder. And Bret signed the contract on November 1st, 1997, and he was going to start on WCW in December of 1997, but there was one problem. Bret Hart was still the WWE champion, and he had 30 days that in his contract he has creative control of the title. And if there was a pay-per-view like Survivor Series 1997, Bret the Hitman Hart against Shawn Michaels in Montreal, Canada for the WWE Championship, and Bret Hart said he was not going to drop the title Shawn Michaels in Canada. He says he could drop it to anybody. He could drop it to Stone Cold, Vader, The Undertaker, anybody. He says the Brooklyn Brawler, he was going to even said he would do it to at the Garden, but he wouldn't drop the Shawn Michaels at Canada in like Montreal. So the booking committee and the WWE had to do a lot of things for Survivor Series to get the belt off of Bret. Like there were several meetings with the booking committee, which included Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, Jim Cornette, Pat Patterson, Jerry Briscoe, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. They were afraid that if Bret Hart was not going to drop the title at Survivor Series and go the rest of the 30 days with the belt and shows up on Monday Nitro with the WWE title, they didn't want to see that because Eric Bischoff would have asked Bret Hart to drop the belt in the bucket. This happened 2 years earlier with like Medusa Michelli, who wrestled in the WWE as Alundra Bridge. She was still the women's champion, but her contract expired, and she still had the belt. And then on Monday Nitro, Medusa threw the belt in the bucket, destroying the credibility of the WWE Women's title. But the WWE Women's title wasn't as prestigious as the WWE Championship. Vince McMahon was so afraid that Eric Bischoff would tell Bret the Hitman Hart to do that, even though Bret the Hitman Hart says he would never do that, but Eric Bischoff would probably give him a big bonus doing that, because if for ratings, and it would also probably kill the business for the WWE, probably destroy it. And then they were going back and forth, and then somehow, I think a day before for the Survivor Series, I think the WWE's booking committee had that plan that they were going to screw Bret Hart out of the title. Earl Hebner was going to be the referee, and he was going to screw Bret Hart out of the title. Him and Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe and Vince McMahon and Jim Ross knew the outcome of the match, that they were going to screw Bret the Hitman Hart. And when they get to when Bret Hart gets to the arena on the day of the Survivor Series, he talks to Vince McMahon saying that he would love to see the match end up at a schmoz with like Shawn Michaels putting him in a sharpshooter and then trying to reverse it, and then Triple H comes down and attacks Bret the Hitman Hart and the rest of the Hart Foundation. Owen Hart, the British Bulldog, Jim Amber Neidhart have a schmoz, have a double disqualification, and then the next night on like in Ontario, Canada, Bret Hart relinquished the belt, and Pat Patterson said that's fine. He went it over with Pat Patterson, says that's fine by me. But when the match happens, it was like a big brawl. Vince McMahon was like seated at ringside, not doing commentary. He's never been doing commentary ever since. And the match went on as planned and stuff, until when the sharpshooter came on, when Shawn Michaels was going to put the sharpshooter, and then this is when Bret was going to reverse it, but then Earl Hebner was told to ring the bell, and then Bret Hart knew it was Vince McMahon who says to ring the fucking damn bell, and he was so disappointed. Shawn Michaels was very shocked to see that, but he was playing it because he knew they were going to screw him. And then Bret the Hitman Hart spits at Vince McMahon's face, and Vince McMahon gets mad, and then Vince McMahon tells Shawn Michaels to take the belt and stuff like that and go backstage. And then when Shawn Michaels was leaving the arena, he was jumping like crazy. He went out. He knew that they were screwing him all along. And then Bret the Hitman Hart and the rest of the Hart Foundation, Owen Hart, the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and Jim the Hammer Knight was stood in the ring shocked. And then Bret destroyed the announce table, the cameras, the monitors and stuff. And then when they go backstage, Bret the Hitman Hart confronts Shawn Michaels, knowing if he knew anything about the screw job, he says, for God's green earth, I had nothing to do with this. I had nothing to do with this. He lied to him. Shawn Michaels knew about this all along, and then Vince McMahon was trying to explain why he did that, because he was afraid that Bret the Hitman Hart would like this take the belt to WCW and throw it in the trash, even though Bret would have not done that. And then Bret the Hitman Hart punched Vince McMahon out, and then there was a big fight. Then Shane McMahon, Vince's son, tries to attack Bret Hart, and then the British Bulldog attacks Shane, but the British Bulldog blows out his knee, and then a lot of the wrestlers try to break it up. Vince McMahon suffers a bruised eye, an ankle injury, and stuff like that, and this caused a commotion. Earl Hebner left the arena afterwards, so Bret couldn't go after him. Left it and took the thing right out of the airport, and then this caused a big commotion. A lot of the wrestlers next night on Raw were not going to show up to like boycott Raw because of Bret the Hitman Hart, but everybody was calmed down. The only people who weren't showed up were Owen Hart and the British Bulldog and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Like Mankind missed TV taping Mick Foley because he wasn't feeling good, but he had it he appeared the next night because he had a family to feed, plus he couldn't go out of his contract because he was not going to return to WCW. Others wrestlers were mad as well, but they knew that they couldn't leave WWE for WCW because many of them weren't in WCW prior to it, and they had frosty relationships. They couldn't go anywhere, and this caused things, and was the development of the Mr. McMahon character on WWE TV. And the next week, on November 17th, 1997, Jim Ross has the interview with Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon said the same thing. It wasn't Vince McMahon who screwed Bret Hart, it was Bret Hart who screwed Bret Hart. And years later, Shawn Michaels admitted to knowing this, knowing that he was in it on it for the Montreal Screwjob, along with Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe and Jim Cornette and Jim Ross and Triple H and maybe a few others. What I thought about this angle, I think it was kind of a work shoot angle, because I think maybe Vince McMahon told Bret Hart to go to WCW and try to succeed there, because I think Bret Hart had nothing more to prove to the WWE, and I think Vince McMahon also kind of knew he was afraid that Eric Bischoff would tell Bret the Hitman Hart to throw the WWE Championship in the belt if he held on to the title until like December 7th. But Bret said he would never do that, but you never know these days. And also, this angle was probably one of the most infamous screw jobs in professional wrestling history, and this was a catalyst of one of the catalysts for the Attitude Eras. And it was also, this screw job caused a lot of stuff. It caused like the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, to pay $100,000 out of his contract to go to WCW with Bret Hart. Jim the Anvil Neidhart also went there, and Owen Hart wanted to go to WCW as well, but he had a contract with WWE. He couldn't breach it, because if he did, he would be sitting out 2 years before going to WCW. But Vince offered Owen Hart more money, even though he didn't really trust Vince. He needed to stay there, so he did. All of this thing with the Montreal Screwjob is in the DVD Wrestling with Shadows, which came out in 1998, that documented Bret the Hitman Hart's career for a year and stuff like that. It's a pretty good video, and the Montreal Screwjob will go down in the record books as the most infamous wrestling double cross in history, which I think it's a work shoot I think maybe all of it was planned out with everything. I think maybe Bret Hart maybe kind of knew something was going on. Maybe he he was in on it a little bit as well. You'll never know. Years later, Bret the Hitman Hart comes back to the WWE and makes up with like Shawn Michaels and stuff like that, and they have and Bret Hart has a WrestleMania 26 match with Vince McMahon, but this match was poorly managed and stuff. But that's another story for another day, another video blog for another day. And I can't believe it's 17 years since this infamous wrestling thing happened. Well, that's about it on that. I'll be back later, Facebook friends and YouTube followers, with 2 more video blogs, which one will be about the classic television show The Greatest American Hero, and the third and final video blog of the night will be about Doug Flutie, who is a legendary quarterback from Boston College and had a great career in the CFL. And that's about it on all of that. Don't forget, Facebook friends, questions and answers, please. And that's about it. Have a good day, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Bye now.